Hello and welcome back to today's episode, which is going to be short and sweet, but it is really juicy and super actionable. I have been getting a lot of DMs on this topic. I have been getting asked this when I put the Ask Me Anything little text boxes on Instagram. This is a hot topic and it's kind of a buzzword that I find myself saying a lot, which is stand out, do this to stand out. And I think it's really easy for people to get frustrated with that word. It's just like us kind of post pandemic hearing the word pivot. It's like if we hear the word pivot one more time, it's like, bleh. So, kind of the same thing. I feel myself like when I say, like, let's do this to stand out. I'm not doing it to just be repetitive, but I am saying, hey, these are some things you can do to stand out because in reality, it's not going to be one specific thing that is going to make you stand out. Yes, it can be part of your why and your story. That is one individual thing that can make you stand out. But really, what we are finding and what I am hearing from people who are getting in and what I am observing from our students is that what makes them stand out, it is not just one thing. It is not you taking this class over and getting an A in it. It is not you volunteering for 50 hours. It's all of those things combined. It's somebody who takes the CCRN and then also takes their CSC certification or CMC certification or both, and who also has, 40 hours of CRNA shadow experience. It's all of those things combined that make you stand out. Today, what I'm going to talk to you about, this is one of those big things that will really help set you apart. So if you're tired of hearing me say, do this to stand out, really this time, this is a good one. Okay, so today I am going to give you 3 leadership projects or clinical projects that you can do on your unit and that you can get started on today that will show the CRNA school admissions committee that you are a leader, but also show them that you are interested in anesthesia and that you have an understanding of how the world of anesthesia meshes with the world of critical care. So it's going to show them that you understand what a CRNA does a little bit and that you can apply that knowledge to your real world. So let's dive in. The first unit project or leadership project that you can do on your unit is you can create a checklist. And tools are awesome. If you can implement a tool on your unit and save your colleagues time or save them from making mistakes or improve their job satisfaction or improve patient satisfaction, those are huge things that you can talk about during your interview. But what kind of checklist am I talking about? You can make something like an intubation checklist, right? So we have all had that happen or have happened to a friend or a nursing neighbor. The patient self-extubates, right? You don't know how they did it, but they managed to pull that tube out. And it always happens to be in the middle of the night around 3 a.m., or you're just getting back from your break and you're tired and you're just trying to make it through the witching hour. Not speaking from experience here. But anyway, we've all been there. Patient self-extubates, or your patient needs to be emergently intubated, right? Whew, take a deep breath. What are we going to do? All right. So in these moments, when you have emergencies or when you have things that aren't in the ordinary, checklists and cheat sheets and quick guides and reference sheets, badge cards, those are all going to save you. Those are all tools that are going to make your job less stressful and easier and help you from skipping steps. So, for example, in anesthesia, there is something called malignant hyperthermia or MH. And this is something that happens to people who have sort of the genetic disposition for it. And it's an intraoperative emergency, and there are a lot of things you have to do. And this is not something that we encounter as anesthesia professionals very often. Usually, people say it's about once in your career that you will encounter a patient who develops malignant hyperthermia. And in school and on the boards, we know what to do. We are quizzed on it. We repetitively go over it. We know the signs and symptoms. We know the treatment, what labs to draw. But in the moment, it can be extremely stressful. And if you have not gone through it before, you can miss things, right? So there is a malignant hyperthermia hotline. So everybody that I've talked to who has had a patient who has developed intraoperative malignant hyperthermia has said they call the hotline because even though you know what to do, the person on the end of that phone is going to know exactly what you should be doing next, and they're going to give you tips, and they're a reference for you, right? Because you're in a situation that's out of the ordinary. So, when you are having that patient in the ICU who has self-extubated, and you have a intubation checklist that you've created for you and all of your nursing friends, that is going to save you, and that is going to make your job less stressful. That is going to help you impress the CRNA that you're working with. That is going to make you feel more confident. That is going to make sure that you are being as safe as possible. So that is a great thing that you can do, that you can talk to the interview committee about when you get your interview. Be like, I created this intubation checklist and it's awesome, and we all use it and it's great. And now I never forget to get the suction for the CRNA. The next thing that you can do is create some sort of perioperative hand off sheet. So if you are getting or receiving patients from cardiac surgery or just general surgeries, in general, and you do not have some sort of pre-op checklist or maybe some post-operative checklist that you can find useful on your unit, that would be a great thing for you to create. So is your patient NPO? Do you have a working IV? Are all the pumps charged for transport down to the OR? Is the RT available to disconnect the vent? Is there a transport monitor? Who's bringing that? Is that the ICU or is that going to be the OR? So there are certain things that you can make like a little quick guide for that'll make that transition a little easier. You can create a little handoff sheet, just like how we do the nursing handoff sheets. You can create one for the patient going down to the OR and coming back from the OR as well. So the third and final project that you can do on your unit to show the CRNA School Admissions Committee that you are a standout applicant, as well as somebody who helps contribute to their unit, is you can create some sort of maybe a visual guide or some sort of educational tool centered around receiving patients who have gotten regional or neuraxial anesthesia. What does that mean? So if you have a patient who has maybe had hip surgery or was a big XLAP patient who has a big incision and they needed to get something called a tap block, you can do some sort of education on your unit or create some sort of guide that helps you assess where the patient is still numb. So if you get a patient who, say, had a knee replacement, which I know in the ICU, you're probably not getting these types of patients, but this is kind of forefront examples that I'm thinking of to try to explain ways that you could implement this type of project on your unit. So, we often do knee replacements, hip replacements, and we do spinals or blocks. And before patients, get up to use the bathroom, we have to make sure that their neuraxial, their spinal, or their epidural, or their peripheral nerve block, the motor blockade, meaning they can't move their leg or walk, has worn off. So they're not a fall risk and they're strong enough. So yes, you're not going to be getting postoperative knees in your CT ICU. You might be getting some thoracotomy patients that maybe got some sort of like intercostal block or something like that. Or maybe you are getting that XLAP patient who got a transversus abdominis plane block, a TAP block. So when you are getting these patients from the OR, ask them, hey, did they get any regional anesthesia? Did they get any blocks? Start to pay attention to that and listen to that, because that would be a great thing to do an educational project on in your unit. So anyway, that is all I have for you today. If you are thinking of more ideas of some things that you can do on your unit to stand out, some projects, and you want to just bounce some ideas off of me, feel free to DM me, send me an email. But anyway, that is all I have for you today. Talk soon.